Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good time, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. Joined with me, as always, Mr. Chris Hughes.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Alan Robinson.
How you doing, fellas?
Unfortunately, Joe is not feeling his best. He's a little unwell this evening. Joe, hope you feel better very soon. Hopefully you'll be with us next week. And finally, at the risk of sounding and playing the old record, with his own special power, it's Jamie Page.
Beetle.
Excellent. I appreciate everyone in the listening to this live is expecting our special guest this evening, Taylor Forrest. Now, Taylor's not here yet. Fingers crossed. We hope everything's running smoothly and going well. And she's running a little bit late, but we're basically going to have to wing it until she arrives. So bear with us. Very quickly, as always, a few shout-outs and thank yous. We've got Jim Dockrell. Jim made a comment, something along the lines of... Jamie, maybe Jim. I don't know. I'm not really sure what.
I like Jim now. He says that you need to stop picking on me. So yeah, I like Jim.
We'll see. We'll see how that pans out, Jamie.
Shut up, Jim. Jim, we don't need your help. Right?
Wait, you leave him alone.
Oh no, I'm picking on Jim. Okay.
My best bud. We've got Crosscut Creations, Andrew McQuillan, Mighty Mike's Workshop. I completely agree, Mighty Mike. I totally agree. Jamie?
Beetle.
And we also, a quick shout out, thank you for KSFWG. Also, the 7 users who hit the like button over on the YouTube video after it went post live. We really genuinely do appreciate all your interactions, including Michael Anthony over on SoundCloud. Jamie?
Beetle.
And the other 186 listeners as well. And I think that's pretty impressive. What's that now? 3 days released on SoundCloud. That's pretty good. Also, don't forget, you can rate us on iTunes, etc., etc. So a big shout out to Timbo Gringo, who commented and rated us over on iTunes. Now, you guys listening, and also you other 3, there was a comment left on the ratings that he made about it was nice that there was the 3 of us from the UK and that there wasn't much of a community in the UK. But actually, Timbo, there is a huge maker community in the UK. Seriously, it is big, and obviously there's Chris and Alan as well. But go and check out all our social media platforms, all 5 of us, because on there will be places where you can find open access to not just the UK community, but the worldwide community as well. So that's pretty cool. Chris, do we have any random listener questions this week?
No, actually, we don't. I mean, if we do, Richard, I just have. I'll be honest. I'll come clean. I haven't had a chance to look.
There's like 30 questions there.
I was going to try to make something up on the spot, but I'm not going to lie. I haven't looked. So I apologize if there has been one and I ignored it.
That's no problem at all. And actually, I totally.
Wait. Here's one. Why is Chris an asshole? There you go.
I've actually got a question. Since I listened to our podcast last week, I want to know if Richard's got any remorse for breaking my scroll saw last week.
No.
Didn't think so.
Nope.
Next question. I totally get that whole, and I'm sure everyone can, Chris, the time and all the rest of it. And actually, Timbo Gringo left his rating back in May, and I didn't see that, so I'm just as guilty for not having time and forgetting and all. Yeah. Just don't even go there.
3 months is not bad, Richard. That's pretty good for you.
That's beyond late, isn't it? Really, to be honest. Right, so that's pretty random and labour questions. So I guess that fits. Now, introduce the main topic. We might get a bit of a stumbling block here, guys, because the introduction topic was going to be Taylor. For some unknown reason, we genuinely don't know what's happened to Taylor. Hopefully, she's just forgotten, and it's because she's busy, rather than anything that's serious. So
she probably had a bigger name on the other line, and so we're just on hold until she's done with them. That's all.
Something more important, like a random cold call or PPI or something like that, which is way more important than us peeps.
And you have to understand, Taylor is an absolutely wonderful lady, and whatever's happened, I'm sure it's just because it's not intentional. So please don't take it out on Taylor, because she's just a sweetheart.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. Unless, of course, she's currently doing a live podcast with Joe. Yeah. I'm not saying that's happened, but the potential for coincidence is, I don't know.
No, Joe's not here. Joe's not here. They're starting their own podcast.
Let's be honest. I'm calling Jimmy right now. Jimmy, what's going on? Are you aware of
this? So what are we going to... We can't obviously spend an hour just... Well, I guess we could just spend an hour talking to ourselves. That's generally what we do anyway when there's no one else on. So
we could spend the hour asking Alan about his honeymoon. Because
funny you say that. Shogun Jimmy just said, "Let's pick on Alan because he's a married man now."
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, we could talk to Alan. Alan, you got married 2 weeks ago. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. I have to admit to you guys, I really did miss podcasting 2 weeks straight. I've taken a week off before, and you're always ready and rearing to go the next week when you get back. But 2 weeks down, that's a long time, guys. Quite a while.
I'd like to say the feeling was mutual, but I can't.
Genuine question here, Alan. 1 week, like you say, I've missed a week, and I think everyone except Jamie. You're the only 100% attendance, aren't you, Jamie?
Yep, I am. I am.
Then I'm looking at the.
Chris has never missed a week.
I gave that up reluctantly. 2 weeks ago, Alan, I wasn't here. When you're I was actually at Taylor's place, and getting along just fine. I mean, maybe I pissed her off. Maybe that's why she's not here today. I don't know. It's quite.
You want to hear the funny part about that, Chris? Is I listened to that podcast. I don't remember you not being there.
Thanks, Alan. I'll go get a drink. I'll be right back. Nobody wants.
I apologize. Oh, he's leaving.
That's relevance for you.
Well,
there were no random questions. There was no enormous workshop conversations. It just didn't happen.
It went smoothly.
So what did you do?
We went.
I don't know. What happened?
Yeah, we went to Niagara Falls for 4 days. Did about just anything you can possibly do there. We came back for 1 day. I got into a nice scruff with my neighbor, as you guys saw, and then we left. Yes, and then we actually took the kids to Omimi at Emily Provincial Park here in Ontario, which is a beautiful, lakeside view and place to camp. So we had a fantastic time.
Good stuff.
And you guys weren't there.
I want to go to Niagara. I want to go to Niagara Falls in Canada because that just looked like a good time.
Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm sure it's wonderful on the American side. We never did cross over, but the Canadian Falls at night are a sight to see. They really are.
Yeah, because it looked
Niagara.
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, my video did not do it justice.
Isn't Niagara Falls the one where people used to hurl themselves off in whiskey barrels and stuff?
So they say.
Or am I mad?
Yeah, no.
A couple. I think 2 people in history have thrown themselves over the falls and nearly killed themselves. Yes.
Yes, but everybody else who's tried it has died. Yes.
There's a few.
No, that's the truth. I mean, several people have tried it and died.
2 lived, and 1 guy broke every bone in his body.
It just doesn't sound like fun to me. I think
that's what
we've got to like.
Hey, that's what they did for fun before there was the internet, guys. So I mean, maybe we have progressed a little bit.
God bless the internet. That's all I can say on that one. I think the closest we've got in the UK is probably Avonmouth Bridge in Bristol. If anyone's in the UK, then they'll know what I'm talking about. It's just a big muddy.
Oh, that's probably safe then. Let's do it.
No, because people. I used to go to college in Bristol, and people used to throw themselves off the bridge, like into the water. But then the tide would go out, and they'd just land in the mud.
What are people
literally
thinking?
Like up to their waist? I know. Just literally, there were stories of people that would just land in the mud up to their waist, stuck, and then they drowned when the tide came back in.
So you used to go to college with people that used to hurl themselves off of buildings?
No,
That's not a coincidence, is it?
Yeah, wherever I am, people throw themselves off tall buildings. So.
And we should have done Richard's spotlight today. He sounds like he's had an interesting past.
Hey, no, that reminds me of anybody who's got in the chat watching. Next week, we know that our guest is going to show up because next week our spotlight is our very own Jamie Page. We haven't done Jamie yet, so we're going to turn the spotlight on him and find out just exactly how many cobwebs he has up there.
Yeah.
I'm finally gonna miss an episode next week.
Yeah, I'm finally going to miss an episode.
And I just wanted to point out, but for the first time in the podcast history, I'm not having a beer. I'm drinking the hard stuff today. It's the Canadian Dry.
That's the good stuff.
That's
Stronger.
I noticed in the background, Alan's got Coca-Cola, and so I'm just thinking there's something wrong here. The Canadian has Coke. I've got a Canada Dry. Alan, I think we're just mixed up, buddy. I don't.
Maybe you're meant to be Canadian.
I've got my man crafting mug.
Oh, that thing is sweet. I can just tell you that.
I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous. Clearly.
I have something I want to get off my chest. If you guys want to get into a quick topic, perhaps before Taylor shows up, if she ever does. And it's something that's. I'm going to be semi-serious about this because it does kind of sort of bother me, and as much as something bothers me, which it really isn't, to any great measure, but. I started out that chair build. Remember I put that video out about the chair that I was trying to build, the segmented chair? And
yeah.
I've never had that happen to me before, guys, where I started building something and then just I got stuck and decided to stop. I've never and I've been woodworking since I was a kid, and I've never gotten to the point where I just said, I'm done with this and have to put it aside. And it's bothering me. Is this an unusual thing? I mean, or has this happened to you guys before, or should I just get over it, or what's the deal?
Oh, you've got unfinished business. It's not going to stop bugging you until it's done.
Yeah, probably right. That's probably what it is. But it's never happened to me before. I mean, has anything like that ever happened to you guys where you start something and then you just kind of get to the point where you go, this is just not working out the way I want it to work out. And so you end up having to redo the entire thing, or you just stick it off to a side and it collects dust until you decide to pick it up again. I mean, has that ever happened to you guys?
Not quite like that. I mean, it comes to certain things like I'm going to annoy Richard and Alan, and I'm going to talk about scroll sawing. For me, it comes to things like when I was doing the tiger pictures, there was one cut, and on God's honest truth, I must have broken 5 blades trying to do that one particular cut. Every time I tried feeding a blade through, it broke, and I was getting so angry with it. And I was like, you know what? Just put it down, walk away from it, leave it. And it's just a case of just leave it alone for a few days, and that's basically what I done, and then just went back to it.
So you're legitimately getting pissed off.
I was legitimately getting pissed off with it. Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I lay too, and I even have a phrase for it. It's a take for the girls. I'm going to put it on the shelf. I put it on the shelf. It's going to stay there for themselves.
Yeah, that's funny because I take that back. It has happened to me. When I first started using the lathe again, I had several projects that I had in mind that I wanted to, try to turn. And my first time doing something on the lathe, what I basically ended up making was I made a bunch of chew toys for my dog. Here you go. This is going to work out. I'm going to grab another piece of wood. Try this again. Here you go, dog. So I guess that has happened. And you know what? The reason why I'm letting it bother me is because I still have that chair sitting in my shop, and I look at it every day when I'm in there. And it's a constant reminder that I have unfinished work to do, I guess, is what I'm doing. So at some point, I've got to finish that chair. Otherwise, I'm going to go nuts.
Or you got to throw it in the fire pit.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I've had a couple end up in my pit. Usually what I typically do, though, is I'll just convert it into something else altogether. I'll rip it down and reuse the wood, or I'll just kind of envision something else on top of it and start building around it and just sticking with it until it's something else.
Well, I've never quit.
Obviously, you've got it's all segmented. You say, yeah.
Yeah.
What about if you keep slicing it up into smaller segments and just putting it on the lathe?
I'd have to cut it apart in order to get it back on the lathe, which may happen. I mean, Jimmy, I don't know. It's just that, and I'm not going to quit on it. That I refuse to quit on it. That's why it's not going to go in the fire, because I don't quit on anything. I think my problem is I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do. And so until something hits me, I'm not going to know which direction to go. So
It's still definitely has potential.
Yeah, I mean, lots of little segments in different color and grain patterns and all that lot on the lathe can look really, really nice, regardless of wood.
Oh, well, this is mostly just cutoffs. I mean, because the idea that I had for making this chair is I wanted to try to make it, and I wanted to try to make it completely out of scrap wood that would normally just get tossed out, but rather than toss it, I want to say, hey, let's see if we can cut this up into pieces, glue them together, and just gradually build this chair from the ground up, as we glue things to it, and just gradually glue a chair together from the ground up. And I thought that would be kind of a neat idea. But yeah, it didn't turn out so neat. It's now bugging the hell out of me.
I've got kind of two projects on the go that are similar to that, really. And it doesn't happen. I can't think of lots of times it's happened. It must have happened more than I can remember. Just but like Chris said, well, there was that one, and there was that one. But one I'm working on at the moment, and you guys, I mentioned it last week. These cupboards that I'm refinishing.
Mm-hmm.
They are 1960s, maybe early 70s, solid mahogany. They're really nice, well made. They're handmade bits of furniture. They are finished with a horrible polyurethane spray lacquer in a kind of light browny caramel shiny gloss finish. That sort of stereotypical. They just need refinishing. And the legs were all scratched up and scuffed, so they were back to bare wood, and the wood was beech, which is, a much different colour to this poly. So all that to be sanded back and restained. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I can do that. Those joints need taking apart and putting back together. I really wasn't looking forward to doing the legs of these two bits of furniture. And they went perfect, absolutely fine. And I was like, the worst of it's over now. So then I went on to the main carcasses, and I was like, you need to clean up, a light rub down, a polish, a wax, job done. It's like a day and a half's work. I'm flying, and I cleaned up the first cupboard, and it just went. What happened? I don't know. It was like pouring paint thinner on paint, fresh paint. It just was bubbling. The finish was going all white and waxy, and it just looked horrendous. And it wasn't like the pressure's on, because this isn't something that I'm making. This is something that somebody's asked me to sort out, and I've just made it worse. And the pressure just suddenly starts to compound, and I can't put it away and kind of forget about it. I've got to plow through it, and I'm just getting more. But I just felt like the world was like
coming down
on me.
Right?
The pressure was compounding at every turn. It was everything. Right, okay, right, stop. Sort that out. And I can't put it to one side and go back to it in a few days, because there's a time constraint anyway, and it was just the headache and in the end I'm going to go and have a drink, come in an hour, and I just literally sanded this thing back to bare wood. Right, I'm going to start from scratch. From that point on, it's touch wood, it's starting to go the way, and I think I've maybe got a day and a half work, and then I can just go. I never want to think of you ever again, kind of thing. So that probably doesn't help in the what to do situation, because the only thing I could do was just plow in. But Kat does knitting and crocheting.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if we make something like your chair, Chris, and it all goes, you don't like it, that's it. It's kind of end state. The wood's cut, it's been glued, it's been put back together, and that's what it is. And of course, if you knit something, you can just pull all the stitches out, and you've got your original ball of yarn. And she does that constantly. She just gets halfway into something and goes, no, I don't like that. Just pulls it apart, and she'll start again. But if she gets in the middle of a project that she doesn't like, and she doesn't know whether she wants to, she's just spent, I don't know, I'm not quite, it's kind of that indecision stage, which way do you go? She puts it on what she refers to as the naughty step. Now, like we do with the kid that's been naughty, it's not behaving, it's like going to sit on the step. And she's got 6 projects on the go always, and at least 4 of them are sat on the naughty step. And we're not talking a day or two. Some of them are like, I'm going to start this project, and it was like, you worked on that when I first met you. That was 6 years ago. Oh yeah, and it was in there for ages before then. So, if you've got the time,
it really does. It's like that. It really does come down to I'm either going to, because I mean, I can continue with what I'm doing with this chair. And I know it will absolutely work. I'm not worried about the functionality of it. My problem is the aesthetic of it. I hate. I just don't like the look of it because I think it looks very juvenile. It looks like a 7th grader got some blocks of wood and some glue and put this thing together. It's like so I'm not really worried about the functioning of it. I mean, she could continue sewing and still create whatever she was creating. She just didn't happen to like the appeal of it, and that's where I'm at on this thing. That's kind of where I'm at too, and I'll figure it out one way or another. And you know what? What I may come down to is I may just go ahead and finish it the way it is, just so it can be done and out of my hair. And that will allow me to move on. I may never resolve this. I mean, but at some point in time, I have to finish it because I just don't quit on anything. I have to. It's just I'm anal about that. I have to finish it.
Just paint it.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Just paint it.
finish it, paint it, and give it to a kid.
Yeah. No, I will. I'm definitely going to finish it. I really want to try to do it and make it look halfway decent. That's where I'm stuck because right now I just don't like the way it looks. Anyway, so.
I think on the one hand, you've got the advantage that you haven't got a time pressure and you haven't got like a deadline for it. So
right.
If you're not enjoying doing what it is or the direction that it's currently going in, you can, in theory, just put it on the naughty step and forget about it. Go and do something else that you will enjoy, and then revisit it later.
Yeah, I have, and I've gone on. I've done 2 different projects since I put that aside, just because I figured I had to move on with things and just keep the juices going. But I was stuck, and I figured that, since we had the time today, I'd bring it up. Maybe somebody would have. I was hoping that somebody else would jump in there with me and say, "Oh yeah, I've been there with you, buddy. I sympathize." But none of you guys decided to want to do that today, so I guess I'm just stuck out here on my own.
First and foremost, if there's anyone in the chat listening to this, jump in. Someone will be watching the chat. I would genuinely be interested in. But
I'd even go for a 1, 2, 3. Oh, I mean, right now.
Ready? 1,
Ready?
2, 3. Oh, poor guy.
Thanks, guys.
Right?
I knew you'd understand. God, you guys are great. I love you.
I never said I understood.
Well, shut up, Jamie.
You're just playing along.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I sympathise with it anyway.
Beto.
I can't wait till next week. I really cannot wait till next week.
See, you're doing two other things, you've done other projects. What were you working on aside from that? Because I kind of like the idea of being able to just put it to one side, work on something else. Because it's the enjoyment thing, isn't it? If you're not enjoying it, it becomes a chore. If it's a chore, then your heart's not in it, and then you can be sort of kind of like me with scroll sawing.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I'm not enjoying it, I won't.
Well, last week I stuck. I did a couple things last week actually, but the one thing that you would know about is when I stuck a piece of wood on a lathe and made a pencil holder, and did a video on it.
Yes.
And I played around with some finish there. So I got back into something that was very easy for me to do. It was not a difficult project. Let's be honest, but it was one of those things. It was time to get back on the horse. So let's go ahead and do something that would be quick, easy, fun, and see if it comes out cool. And I thought it came out kind of cool. So I kind of got the bomb going. And I turned a couple other things on the lathe that I didn't videotape, and I'm in the process of making a box. Actually, I finished the box, but and I was just building a nice little box that actually is going to be a nice wooden box that's going to hold some custom chocolates for somebody, for a girl. And I did. No. Actually, no. It's for my wife, but it's for my wife to give to a friend of hers.
Ah, right. Okay. That could have been a very deep hole you could have fallen into.
No. I think my lie's ahead, so I haven't answered.
You're going to get us on drama alert.
No.
Alan, take note. This could happen to you now.
But in the process of making that box, I had to make a jig, and so I did a video about making a jig. So that will be my next video that's coming out there. So I've gotten back on the horse. It's just, but I just go out in my shop, and every day that damn thing is sitting there looking at me. It's like, what are you going to do with me, Chris? What are you going to do with me? And I just don't know yet. So anyway, I just figured I'd bring that up since we were lacking for topics.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm kind of with Alan, just painting.
I'm not painting it.
Emulsion.
The last thing I like to do to wood is paint it.
That's a sin. He's right.
Even if it's OSB, I feel bad painting OSB.
Loads of potatoes and like. all over it?
I mean, I will paint wood, but normally it's because I'm asked to do it, not because I want to do it, because it's not my first choice. But whatever. Yeah, just paint it. Wow. Okay.
Now, think of it as it could become a project in experimenting with types of finish, couldn't it? Rather than types of design.
Well, yeah. I actually would tend to probably do that before I would do anything else, because that little pencil holder I did was an experimentation on finish that I did because I thought it would work. I wasn't sure. I'd never done that before. But it came out and I went, wow, that really came out really nice. I like that. So yeah, playing around, I guess, is what I'll do in the meantime.
Carve it into a different chair.
I'm thinking about buying an Arbortech, one of those, the grinder wheels, and thinking about doing that, Alan. To be honest with you, that was actually the first thing I thought of when I looked at that.
And you know who you should look up is Bearcat Woodworking. The shape he makes his chairs just looks spectacular.
Yeah, I believe the tool is a turbo plane, is what it's called, and you actually put it on the end of an angle grinder, and you can actually do some power carving with that. And I know the guys at Arbortech make a lot of tools like that too. So. Yeah, I may.
Yeah,
I may just that broaden my horizons, if nothing else. There you go. There's that one too. That one looks dangerous, though, Alan.
I won't use it.
Is that the same company that Joe used for his Maloof rocking chair seat?
I believe so. No, actually, no. I don't think it is. No, that's a different. He used. God, what was that? I can't remember the name of the company. His had
last you, Joe, for not being here.
Yeah, his had more of a bevel on his. The one that Alan's holding up there, I know Tim Sway did a video on that, and I know Jason McGinn got one of those as well.
It says the Graph Speed Cutter.
Yeah,
I can smell trouble for some reason.
Oh, who's coming?
I don't like them things.
Well, yeah, you better pay, if you're going to put down the end of a grinder and you're going to start, you better pay attention to what you're doing, because that thing will take your friggin' leg off. I mean, just look at that thing. That thing is mean.
I've seen a zip cut wheel come flying off one of them. I don't want to see one of these fly off.
Oh no.
Have you ever had a blade, like an angle grinder blade, explode?
I've seen one blow in half, and one half went inside the gentleman's leg, and the other just flew off into the abyss. We never did find it.
I saw a picture on Facebook once, and there was a piece of an angle grinder attachment like stuck in a guy's cheek.
That's exactly what it looked like. I've seen that picture. Like half hanging out of his leg and half in it.
No.
You get like the tiny little about an inch diameter for a Dremel.
Yeah,
like those little mini ones, so that they can barely cut through a 23 gauge paddle pen. I had one of those that shattered into lots of different pieces, and I never found a single piece, and that put me off grinding anything like that. Yeah, just like whoa. Yeah, we'll leave that to one side.
Thing just disintegrated.
Yeah, well, it's like you definitely have to pay attention, and Mark Lindsay said it perfectly. He says, you got to be smarter than the tool boys. That really does help, Mark.
If you want to see it in action, Shogun Jimmy just put out a video doing a piece of like landscape artwork using nothing but the Graph Speed Cutter thing. It looked awesome, but you should have seen how decked out he was in safety equipment. So he was definitely thinking ahead on it. He was thinking the same thing you were. He had everything going, face mask, gloves, everything.
I actually watched Tim Sway use one of them. He carved out a guitar body.
Yeah,
with one of them, and it was incredible. Yeah, really, really good.
How did I miss that? Must be in the watch.
So there you
list.
go, Chris.
You probably put it in the watch later list, like Richard always does.
Yeah,
must be in there.
That's not one that I've seen. I will confess. But I've noticed actually. Think in all seriousness, looking through my subscription list and the things that appear in like the subscription feed, I'm missing loads of people that I know I'm subscribed to because I've gone and checked. It's like people aren't putting videos out, but they are. But I'm sure YouTube is messing with the way things appear.
Yeah, that's been happening to me for months. Oh, Mr.
I can smell trouble.
Oh, that's pretty quiet.
There's trouble.
Birkey's logo just showed up.
Hi, kids.
Hey, Birkey.
There he is.
How are you, buddy?
I told you you could smell trouble.
Andy came to save the day since Taylor didn't show up before us today. Oh well.
Please, if I'm here to save the day, you guys are in big trouble.
Just that laugh alone's worth it.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Andy. How are you, man?
Oh, buddy.
And he's brought the beer.
You guys,
Beer
you
and
guys
Canada
got
Dry.
it's better than I'm foaming out here. You guys gave me an excuse to not mow the lawn, so I'm all good.
Let me see.
You know,
Hang out with those guys and mow the lawn. Yeah, okay, I'll go with it.
you know,
Providing valuable service.
it's so weird how people are wired, right? Because I know some guys don't like to cook. I love to cook.
So do I.
Some guys like landscaping. It's like scratching my own eyes out to landscape.
Me too.
We're right there with you, Berkey.
Man, I am so wired. I am wired very much like that myself because I love to cook and I love to work in my shop. But if you want me to go mow the friggin' lawn, you're gonna have to pull teeth because I'm telling you, I hate that crap. I hate working out. Oh my god, no.
I don't want to cook or mow the lawn.
Did you know Andy didn't say it's like pulling your hair out?
No.
Exactly. Oh, come on, man. That ain't right. That is not right.
Oh, below the belt, buddy.
Guys, that's why I live where I live because Mother Nature and I have an agreement. She doesn't ask me to trim her hair and paint her nails, and I don't cut down her trees. And the agreement seems to be working out pretty well so far. So I'm happy. I'm happy.
Nice.
Sterling just commented over in the chat section saying Taylor's bald.
Come on, man.
Oh,
Don't do that to me, Sterling.
I was going to say, you look nothing like your profile picture.
Not even close. Not even close.
But this says, I know why Taylor didn't show up. We can all blame Berkey.
Well, you know,
That joke's been waiting around for 2 years.
I wanted to be back on the show so bad that I had to have a couple of my buddies do a little work for me.
So it was you. He bribed Taylor because he wanted to come on. That's all right. Hey, Andy, you've done some cool. I want to talk to you real quick because you've had some pretty cool guests in your shop recently. I'm going to talk to you about because you did a video, and I think that I don't want to steal Jamie's thunder because I believe this is going to be a shout out today. Jamie, do you want to go ahead and take this?
No.
Wow. Okay.
That would be a no.
All right. I guess that means we're doing shout outs now.
Well, but Andy's here, and I know that you were going to talk about Andy today.
It's actually the
God, Jamie segue.
It was actually it was actually the reason behind me getting the Izzy tattoo as well. So I could have Izzy and Berkey next to each other on my leg.
Oh.
Basically, that Izzy went and saw Andy in his shop, and they had exactly the same piece of basswood, and the object was to make a finial, and they basically done it, and they basically done obviously two different designs, and they were both incredible. Actually, to be honest, you can kind of tell Izzy's one with his kind of rustic background, if you like, because of all the curves and
I was going to say that.
In the style that he does, in Izzy's kind of style, and Izzy's kind of more churchy. It's a kind of style I'm going to say. It was kind of small and more detailed. Is a better way of putting it. Yeah, but they're both great videos. I thought Izzy's was really, really funny when he's kind of standing there just looking at the block of wood for ages, trying to think what to do, and all you see in the background is Andy just going do working away. So yeah, they're great videos.
So how was that?
Well,
how was that visit, Andy?
You know, the visit was outrageous because Izzy forgot that there was an hour time change. And so he ended up showing up at my shop at 6:30. Now, which was fine with me because I was already out. He said, you know, I'm 10 minutes away, and my dog Fiona and I were probably 10 minutes away from the shop walking in the dark. And so we got back, and literally the opening of my video is Izzy pulling up and saying, "Hello, Mr. Birkey." And that was the way the day started. And you know, we kind of hugged it out, and and then got a cup of coffee. Izzy got an Americano with 4 shots of espresso.
Holy crap.
Wakey, wakey.
I knew I was in trouble right there. And, but God, we just took off, and it was so fun because it's funny because it was very revealing to me because my headspace, and I didn't really think this way, it was this way, but I'm very methodical and very, I like to plan stuff out. I don't plan it out on paper. I plan it out in 3D, on the bench.
Right.
But I like to have that, the Chinese have the saying, go fast by going slow. And that's very much my mentality. And so I was kind of weirding out a little bit, and I was uncomfortable because now we've got this thing that has to be done, by the end of the day. And, typically that's just not the way my brain works. And, so I was kind of off balance all day as far as the build goes. On the other side of that, it was really cool to have Izzy and I in the same shop, just joking around and throwing stuff at each other and all of that all day. So it was pretty cool. And then at noon, we got to go to a church that's close to here that I had done a bunch of work on, and it's pretty much of a freak show to have Izzy Swan walking around pieces of furniture that you built. And
oh yeah, I bet.
And just,
That would be incredible.
I was kind of chicken skin, at that point. So
Yeah, I can see that being a little unnerving. Yeah.
yeah, big time. But it was really cool, and we got to have some table saw tacos, and we finished everything up by the end of the day. And I will say this: Izzy's mind is so I don't even have a word for it. It's just out there, man. The guy is. I hate the term creative genius, but you can just feel the smoke coming out of his ears. As he's working, he's morphing and doing his design is changing in his mind as he's going.
Right.
It was really fun to watch and really an honor to be there hanging out with him. So
cool.
We had a ball.
Awesome. That
Right.
sounds like
I've actually heard there's something better than table saw tacos. Chris, do you want to talk about that?
No. I'm going to leave Andy alone. I bugged him one time just to get a laugh and a giggle. I'm not going to press that issue.
There's nothing better. Plain and simple.
I'm just going to drink my Canada Dry.
How are you getting on with those windows that you're working on, Andy?
Sorry?
How are you getting on with those windows? Was it windows you put out a video? I think it was a live video on Facebook, or it might have been an Instagram story. You're working on the glazing bars with the bendy ruler and carving the. Oh no!
Yeah, that looks like a window, but that is actually a Gothic-shaped headboard. That's a buddy of mine and I. He comes over usually every Tuesday. This week we did it on Friday night, and it's a Gothic shaped headboard with tracery in it, the classic Gothic tracery, and then we're going to backlight it with LEDs, so it'll kind of like way in back, so it'll be a real soft glow. But
it'll kind of look like stained glass.
That's kind of and the tracery should be really hot as far as the amount of light goes, and then everything in of that will fade to darker in the middle of each pane. So if it comes out right, it should be kind of cool. So because the outside will be sealed to the wall, so there won't be any leakage going out. It'll all be going in. So I mean, we're kind of winging it, but it's one of those deals. His wife saw it on Pinterest, and we decided, let's give it a whirl. So it's kind of a cool project. It's because we laid it out old school, with trammels and all of that, and it
looked from the video like you'd marked it all out one to one on a board, and you were basically using that as your storyboard and marking all the work in. But when you showed for anyone that hasn't seen, because I think it was a story now, so if you haven't seen it, it might have disappeared.
I'm not sure. Tell you the truth. No.
Anyway, to kind of sum it up, all the tracery within, you'd routed a cove, hadn't you, along
Yes.
the edge of everything, and then where you feed into a tight corner, you just get that rounded. And the video, the camera looked in it, and I literally just went, "Ah, I can't believe, no, you can't do that, Andy. You can't leave it like that. That's like, how do you put your name to that?" And it's like, so now I'm going to get the chisel, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go with that. Because
All right.
originally something like that would have been done individual pieces, wouldn't it? And then been hand carved, and it would have been a sharp corner. I was like, no, you can't route that. No, what are you doing? And then you just, because obviously you've done a lot of training recently with, I forget the chap's now, doing the chap's name with the hand carving chisels. When you, I can't remember the chap's name, but Andy did some training with a chap.
Mac Headley Jr.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you're a far more accomplished hand tool carver. It's like, yes, that makes sense. Where you go?
Well, I just feel like you can make all sorts of magic when you combine power tools and hand carving, because all of a sudden people can't, if you do it right, people can't understand where one stops and one starts. And that's, to me, that's kind of the fun part, like I say, all I do is cheat my butt off. That's my whole world is trying to make things fancier looking than they really are.
Yeah. And that's everyone's game. That's that's just honesty, that is. And anyone that says that's not what they do is
right,
probably a bit of a fibber, to be honest. Unless you are 50 years in and you've only ever done hand tools, etc., and you cannot do all that by hand. I bet you find this when you start restoring things. You take something apart that's 50, 60 plus years old, and you find the mistakes that have been got round, covered up, and you kind of do you find yourself getting into the mind of the original carpenter?
Oh man, big time, because here's one thing that I've always kind of had a problem with. I don't consider myself to be a fine woodworking guy. I mean, guys that have things on their bench that they can spend weeks on. I can't do that. That's just not what I do. And working in churches, it's really interesting to see that the quality of the castings and the cuts and everything is very dependent on the viewing distance. So what we coined a term, situational perfection. And, that may go against a lot of guys that have this craftsman, I don't know, that want to say master craftsman or whatever.
Right.
That, everything you do is the absolute perfect thing. And if you can do that, great. I respect it. But for me, trying to sell this kind of work, on a big scale, there's no way I would be there for 10 years. And
so you kind of have to employ if it looks straight, it is straight.
Completely,
yeah.
Because some stuff at a viewing distance of a meter is way different than 20 meters in the air. Mm-hmm. And, you get up into the vault of a church and the castings and things are rubbish. They're complete rubbish. From if you're looking at them from, a meter away, from 60 meters or 20 meters, they look brilliant.
Right.
So that's, I know that's kind of a touchy subject with people because, the argument could be said that you're not a true craftsman if you're not putting your absolute best work into everything you touch. And I understand that.
You just said that you don't have stuff on your bench for weeks on end. How long did it take you to do that scroll saw picture of that face?
Weeks on end. Yeah, okay. Point taken.
But that was when he had time to get to it, probably, is what the deal with that was.
Again,
have I mentioned that I hate Jamie?
Yeah, you
You're in
told
the
me
right
to
place.
face a few
You know what?
times.
Yeah, his polling numbers have gone down since this show started. Trust me, I'm right.
Wow, that's got to be negative territory.
Well,
Yeah.
we had two people who didn't show up today, so I mean that should tell you something.
But you can pull old Birkey out of his backyard in the weeds, right?
Yeah, why not? Always good for a laugh.
Richard, what's your take? What's your take on that concept of situational perfection?
I totally agree with it, but from 2 points. First of all, you've got to think of the punter. You know, if the punter is prepared to invest in A, your time, and therefore B, their own money, then absolutely. You know, and if it's within your skill set, then, you know, go right up into the vaults of the cathedral and do it perfectly. But, you know, actually, you've got to be realistic. And even if you look back 100 years, the original guy, the guys that were making those very top castings were probably the apprentices.
Truth. That's exactly the way it was.
And then, you know, the master guy, the foreman, he's working down at ground level. And the better you get, the better down. So, you know, once you've been doing it a couple of years, you're coming down a level on the, you know, not going up a rung, you're coming, do you see what I mean? You're getting closer and closer and closer to where people are going to see it. And you're using, just like everybody out there, you think about what Jimmy says, by the time you've done it the 4th or 5th time, you're a master at it. First couple of goes, you're just waddling through. That's exactly the learning, any trade, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, personally, I'm going to scroll saw something that's going on a weather vane, not something that's going on a mantelpiece. But
You're going to scroll saw something.
yeah, something for the very top of the Empire State Building weather vane. That's where I scroll saw stuff. But, you know, it's just because you're the apprentice, and when you get 4 feet from that casting or that carving, it might look like a 4-year-old's done it, but that probably potentially is your very best work. And that I 100% agree with what you're saying on both counts for that.
I got a ton of respect for guys that do, you know, small. Well, let's Kyle Toth's vases.
Yes.
I mean, we all know him. I own one. And there are times when I pull it out of its place that's behind glass in my house. And I sit at the dining room table and I just hold it and look at it. And to me, with a trained eye and trained tactile interaction with it, I'm just I can't even describe how impressive his work is. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a whole different level than what I do. For instance, I have what is it called, the economy of scale. You know, if you're building a 29-foot tall altarpiece, it kind of just overwhelms you and attacks you. Where you know, this vase that he has turned, you know, the segments are perfect. The walls are, you know, thin as, God, I don't know, maybe, you know, 4 or 5 sheets of paper, and the finish is pristine. You know, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And you're inspecting it from a distance of 6 inches.
Yeah. That's just,
So,
yeah.
Incredible.
I haven't gotten to that level of craftsmanship, and I don't know that I ever will get to that level. I mean, every now and then I luck out, and you may look at, I mean, there may be a part of something that I do, and you can look at it and go, wow, that was really well done. And I just kind of go, I got lucky. But to intentionally do it, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever get there.
Yeah, sometimes you do get lucky, other times you don't. And, you know, whatever it is, whatever level of work you're at or you finish at, you always learn something. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, and like I was saying before about these cupboards that I'm refinishing, and I get an absolute mare with it. I'm sure you've had occasions like that in the past, Andy, where you get into something, you're like, right, I've got to do this, I plan for this, I can see I'm going to need to do that, and you start on it and something goes really well, and away you go, and then all of a sudden something which you thought was going to be really simple or didn't even need work on, suddenly just everything, you can open, worms everywhere, and everything's just turned on its head.
Yeah. And that's what makes, when you're doing client work, that's what makes, bidding things so
almost
incredible.
Impossible.
Right. Now, I do a lot of work by the hour because, I'm very honest with people. I can give you a number, but just know that every worst case scenario is factored into that number. And if you're willing to take a little bit of risk and trust me, you're way better off going by the number or by the hour. Yeah. And,
See, I'm completely the opposite of that. I very rarely go at looking at a job and say it's going to be per hour, because that in itself is a can of worms. So I'll say, right, this is what I can see. This bit, that bit, explain it, show it, all the rest of it. I need to do this. I'm going to have to do this. That's going to require such and such. But once I get into this, it could be, a lot worse. I mean, if you look through my Instagram, and the guys will tell you, I did some. They were Georgian sash windows in a Georgian townhouse near me, and they were just rotten as a pair in places. And you know what it's like when you've got rotten wood that's been painted over. Once you get in there, it's sort of dentistry work. So I can see this. I think it's going to be this, that, and the other. But be aware, it could well spiral horrendously, and I will keep you updated as it goes. And in the end, the guy was like, "Yeah, do what you've got to do. Keep me updated." And it ended up costing nearly twice as much as originally planned. But he said, "Yeah, it's going to be, down the line." So no, I never price by the hour. If somebody goes, "You're not working," you're standing around because they don't know you're waiting for this, or you're looking to do that, or you're genuinely scratching your head going, "What's the best way to get it?" Right. Something. Do I go this route, or do I go that route, or which is going to be the most economical?
Oh man! Well, Andy, thanks for joining us and saving the day for us today, because having you on really helped us out. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Always fun. Always fun.
Andy.
That's an hour. How have we got to an hour?
That's an hour. That was your cue, Richard. I mean, someday you're going to pick up on these little.
One day.
In Richard's defense, it was very subtle, Chris.
Yeah, but I thought I had the tone of wrapping things up. I could be. Maybe I was wrong.
No, honestly, it's you need wakey.
Yeah.
You need the evil eye of Joe.
That's it. Joe, you need to train up Chris on the evil eye thing, ready for next week. What is everyone actually watching at the moment then? Let's start with Andy, because I always enjoy talking to Andy. What are you, obviously not cutting the grass, but...
I just was able to, I just got a Facebook message from the Red Smith, and he passed me around a table of people drinking at a table in Hanover at the Maker Faire.
Yes.
Everybody, yeah. I mean, all the Euros were there, and God, not all of them, because you guys are here and you weren't there, but it was really cool to see the Continental Euros there. And God, it just reminded me that if you guys aren't aware of Jenny Swiss, Jenni, you need to be aware of this guy. He lives in this really cool little like stone farmhousey thing in Switzerland, and he's a super cool guy. He's got his boy, who's probably 10, 12 years old, I don't know, starting to make stuff in the shop with him. And cool. I really dig Jenny Swiss as well as Red Smith, and I have a bit of a penchant for the European makers. You guys don't get enough credit for what you do. So it seems like the States and Canada get most of the attention, as we are prone to do in international relations anyway. But
I genuinely think that is purely just down to the numbers game.
It's a population.
Very well could
That's
be.
all it is.
Yeah, it's a population thing, I think, because I mean that's kind of why we do this podcast. It's called Makers International because we wanted to recognize the people across the globe, especially in Europe, that are definitely awesome makers and that don't get enough love. So yeah, I will check out Jenny Smith. And to be honest with you, I believe I'm already familiar, but I will make sure that I add that link to our description. So awesome, thank you, Andy.
Excellent. What about you, Jamie? Are you working on anything? Watching anything?
What am I working on? Well, I done a copycat of Bobby Duke's little hook thing, the Maui hook. Just messing around the other day. I started it anyway. It needs a bit more work done to it, but yeah, I was just messing around. But I've already done my shout out, but I'm going to do one more just because I can really.
Just because he wants to see you, right? Go ahead.
And my shout out is going to be Mike's Woodshop. Beto. He actually done a shop tour, and he showed a few Skullsaw portraits of a cat that he done, and the minion that he done. Beto.
Okay.
So yeah, Mike's Woodshop.
God love Mike. Okay, cool. Got it.
Cool. And you, Chris, are you going to do anything with that chair, or is it going to sit on the naughty step for a little while?
It's going to sit on the naughty step for a while, but yes, I am going to do something with it. I am determined to finish that because I don't quit on anything. I refuse to. I have been watching Sean, SE Woodworks. If you haven't checked out this gentleman, and I believe I sent Andy the link earlier in the week. I don't know if Andy had a chance to check that out yet. Very talented guy, a young guy. I believe Sean is still in high school, to be quite honest with you. But he did a video on inlay work that he was doing on a coffee table he's making, and very skilled for the age that he is. If you're not
insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and we were fortunate to have Sean on the podcast with us not long ago. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Sean's channel, SE Woodworks, go give him a look and check out that video because awesome stuff. Dang. Thank you, Sean. Keep it up, buddy.
Yeah, and I owe Sean a huge apology. In fact, that's a kind of a kick up the derriere for me because I need to get back in touch with him because we were chatting about some things and I've just got swamped with work and I've been distracted. So, Sean, if you're still listening, because you were, I think, in the live chat earlier, I haven't forgotten what we talked about. It is still on my radar. And thanks to Chris more so. So I will get in touch and we will talk about that further because I think he was going to allude to it in that table video and it sort of got edited out potentially and I felt absolutely terrible. So apologies for that, Sean, but we will work on it. So
what about you, Richard?
These flaming Satan sock drawers. I want to get them out and shipped and away, and then they're out of my hair and I can forget I ever even took the job on. I've been messing around yesterday with some heat treating as well of metal. I've tried to make a plane iron, just messing things around. It's been posted on, I posted it in the Makers on YouTube Facebook group with a little video clip of what I was up to. So it may end up as a video, just as a sort of, I don't know, we'll see what happens. That was it. But who have I been watching? Because that was what you were really asking. Rex, see, I'm getting better. I genuinely am getting better, obviously. Rex Torn Metalwork. That was where I was going. You see me metalworking. Blah, blah, blah.
I picked the wrong weekend to quit drinking. Here we go.
Hold on.
There you go.
I totally stumbled on a YouTube channel. This was because of Kat, because she found this clip randomly on Facebook. A guy making a Game of Thrones dragon egg, and I know, Chris, you're going to sigh.
Here we
but
go.
Seriously, watch this. There's 2 Game of Thrones videos this guy's done. Even if you have no clue what Game of Thrones is, watch these videos because the metalworking involved is just unbelievable, like insane.
Can I direct you to a channel called Press Tube as well then, because they've just made a dragon egg as well.
What is it, Jamie?
Press Tube.
Press Tube. I'll make a note. I've just made a note of that. But I haven't watched it. I don't know what you're talking about, but seriously, I've got to.
Well, your relationship with Game of Thrones makes me really feel like the only reason why I'm here is because you want to have somebody who resembles a short person on your show.
You got Sky on one side.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Seems valid to me.
And the only reason I'm here is so I can do a photo edit of that picture.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
But if you have no clue or care for Game of Thrones, these are insane build videos. Metalworking is pure excellence, just another level. So
it is cool. What's the name of the channel again? Rex Torn what?
Rex Torn Metalwork.
All right, cool. Got it. Thank you.
So yeah, Alan, save us.
I can't save you,
Please.
but I'm working on the most boring projects ever. I have to make 38 frames from pictures from the wedding and honeymoon and all that. She gave me a stack of things to frames. So we all know how exciting that is. But I do have a channel. I know Berkey's going to... I found a new channel. We got a shot.
You can make cutting boards instead if you'd like.
They're both terrible. I say I'm going to have my frame practice in for a lifetime in the next few weeks. But I did I found a new channel that we got a spotlight. I had a gentleman email and tell me these guys were ripping me right off and that I should have them shut down. So I went and checked them out. Absolutely nothing like my channel. So if you don't like me, you're going to love them. The only similarity at all is the name of this channel is Wood Shop Junkies. It's two young men who love to work together and make videos in their shop, and they're just great videos. I think they're up 4 videos and maybe 28 subscribers now. So go check them out. Welcome them to the community because they're great guys.
Workshop Junkies. Got it. All right.
Workshop Junkies. It's plural. There's only one of me.
Thank God for that.
Maybe.
I might join them. I'm going to start a junkie sub channel.
You've just given Jamie something else to confuse everybody about.
Alan's got 12 of them in his own head, though. The voices are.
And constantly at war.
Wicked.
There's more than
Well,
that.
I'm with you, brother.
Fist bump. Right, so I mean that's everyone's working on. Going through the notes. Tonight's gone to pot. I'm not going to try and keep it all in order now.
How you end a podcast?
Where can everyone be found? Andy, where can people find your seriously nice work that you do?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Andy_Birkey, I think. Andy Birkey on Facebook, and out in my backyard doing lawn mower repair.
Awesome. I expect an Instagram story, like selfie video of you cutting the grass at some point. No, I will be looking out for it.
I try to keep it interesting.
Oh God! No, I want to see it.
Put a sunset in the background then.
Awesome. What about you, Jamie? Where can people find it yourself?
You can find me on YouTube at JP Woodwork or Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork, or you can find all our social media links at makersinternationalpodcast.com, not makerscentral.co.uk.
I can't wait for this event to happen so people become unconfused. Anyway.
I think that's why a Facebook group keeps calling Maker Central the Makers International thing. I think it's Jamie's fault that's doing it.
Completely.
Yeah, so keep that up. That's good.
I want to know why people keep contacting me for tickets.
Just keep taking the money, dude.
Well, yeah, you should stop selling them.
Nick is not going to like that eventually. He's going to find out, Jamie.
Yeah, I've been printing a load off.
You don't think he's looking? He's not watching this, is he?
Yeah. Jimmy's going to be going next week. Look, a 3D printer I just bought. Oh, yeah.
CNC scroll saw. What about you, Chris? Where are you hiding on the internet?
I'm hiding from this podcast from now on. I am. Someday, I promise everybody, this will not be a train wreck of a podcast. When that day will be, I have no clue. But actually, there may not be hope. I take that back. You can find. Yeah. You can find me on Facebook on Make the First Cut, YouTube under my name, Chris Cute. So there you go.
Excellent. And you, Alan, where do you hide?
Oh, Facebook, Instagram, and to a lesser extent, YouTube under where am I? The Woodworking Junkie.
Not to be confused with the woodshop junkies.
Yes, don't confuse me with
Or
them.
makercentral.co.uk.
Excellent. Well, I've been Rick Morley. You can find me at brainfizz.uk under my name.
And not makercentral.co.uk.
No, I'm not on there. I might be actually. I don't know. Anyway, have we heard anything from Taylor coming through?
Yes, I've heard from Taylor. She's messaged me. She's sincerely apologised, but she got caught up with doing different bits and bobs. But she would love to be on the show next time we can arrange a date.
Cool.
Okay.
So at least everything's okay here, and fantastic. We'll sort something out for another time. Andy, thanks for bailing us out. That's
Always my pleasure.
You are the man.
good
Thank you.
stuff. Wicked. Well, everyone, we'll be back next time, hopefully with Jamie and doing stuff. So till then, you take care.
Have a good week and blame Berkey.
Beetle.
Have a week.